Perfect. We are now live. So good afternoon and welcome to the latest edition of Lunchtime Learnings. I'm delighted to be joined by an industry. Am I allowed to call you veteran? Okay, that's what some people say to me.
Yeah, that's
Simon Shinerock from Choices Estate Agents, who have been going for 32 years in South London, Surrey.
That's right.
And that area. So welcome, Simon. Delighted to have you on.
South London, Sussex.
Sussex as well. Okay. So
Hi,
tell us about your journey and how you got involved in a estate agency in the first place and still doing it successfully after 32 years.
Yeah, well, I know I don't look it, but I did quite a bit before I came into estate agency 32 years ago. So I started off doing recruitment for Reed Employment for a few months. And then I went to work for Pitney Bowes, who are a big office equipment company in sales. But for 5.5 years, I was with the Imperial Life of Canada, and then later on Target Life and AXA before I actually, well, in fact, I started Choices while I was still a manager with AXA, funnily enough, or Target as they were before. And it was back in the day where the institutions were looking at high street estate agencies as a kind of shop window for their services. People like the Pru and others sort of leapt in, lost a lot of money. And the reason was because I saw where the financial services industry was going, i.e. very regulated. And I did feel that home sales would be easier and I could come up with a better way of doing it. And when we opened actually in 1989, we just did home sales in Crawley, and it was all based on an upfront fee and a reduced commission on it. And I even got a formula for that, which was commitment plus incentive equals effectiveness.
Yeah.
And I had this big bee in my bonnet about sole agency fees, and I didn't believe they created the right relationship with estate agents. And we carried on like that for quite a few years. And because I had no experience whatsoever, they do say make your fortune while you're still young and you still know everything. Yeah. So I actually launched a franchise within 2 years of opening. And in fact, I was relatively good at selling the franchises, and we ended up with about 10. And but unfortunately, when I opened, 1989 was the beginning of the worst housing recession since the war.
Yeah.
And it was not easy. And although we did very well in Crawley, and I did get one of my franchisees through, in fact, two of them through 10 years. The rest of them weren't really up to it. And although our proposition was great, it was really based on a volume sale. And I guess the volume came out of the market. It went down to, I think in 1988 the top sales month ever was about 279,000 units were sold in the UK. And I think that by the time that setback had completed its cycle, I think that was down to about 80,000 units. So you can see a huge difference. Position was no longer it was no longer, it was too niche for the high street. As you've seen with purple bricks, if you then create a national window, then you can get a niche proposition out there more easily. But again, without singling out purple bricks, back in the day, before I started Choices, there was a company called Seekers that were called the No Commission Estate Agents.
Yeah.
And they had 80 offices. Michael Nyman, I remember. And they didn't survive because there was no incentive for them to sell the properties. So when the volume went out, it was really like classified advertising, but on the high street with a bit more, few knobs and whistles. So that's what happened. So we started, I went through a massive learning curve, realized that I'd come into this business, which was much more difficult than it looked from the outside, selling property. And of course, the lettings business was coming out. I was still doing financials, but despite all of that, I really did nearly walk away in 1994. So things were doing really badly then. And it was at that point I actually went and ran a branch myself, which was one of our one of our franchises, actually in Hawley, near to Crawley. And I did take it to market leadership fairly quickly. And I then put somebody that worked for us in that office, and they took it back down to nothing. So it really was a bit of a confusing time for me. Oh, bear in mind that I'd learned to recruit and train salespeople in the life insurance industry.
Yeah.
Selling a product nobody wants, intangible, that nobody actually understands and goes shopping for. And my speciality was pensions, in fact. And 22 salespeople at one point. So, you know, I thought I could apply that and it would work really well. And parts of it do, but it's only part of the jigsaw puzzle. And so at that point, I decided if I couldn't make it work, because I was still a financial advisor at that time, I wasn't practicing, but I had been the top pension salesman for AXA, in fact, in 92. And I was going to go back to that, you know, forget about estate agency. And then as a last ditch thing, I thought, right, I'm not going to sell my way out of this. Yeah, I'm going to manage my way out of this, or I'm not going to do it. And at that point, I was looking at the lettings market, and it was by coincidence. I tried everything on financial services, on sales, on everything, but I hadn't really looked at the lettings market that much. Although I'd been on television, and I coined the term the mortgage trap, which later became negative equity. Yeah. And I also proposed a solution, which was the buy-to-let mortgage, which in fact happened. And the buy-to-let mortgage was what added the spark to what was effectively a latent, but as that point, sleeping buy-to-let market that was created by the Housing Act in 1988. So that got rid of all of the acts and everything, and it created the assured short hold tenancy. And but there was no available finance. So when they brought in buy-to-let mortgages, I could see it was going to go mad, and it did go mad. And I noticed that one of our competitors, it was actually Man & Co, was shooting past us. You know, that we were in lettings, we had about 90 properties, and these people were just going mad. And I thought, right. And as a last ditch thing, I came up with a special offer. It was 5% full management for the first 6 months. You know, make sure you choose the why pay more. And this is one of the biggest lessons I've ever learned in about business, is that sometimes something like that, which seems so minor now, can make all the difference. So that took us in the local paper from 4 valuations a month, yeah, and about 2 instructions, which we normally let, and we were just doing nothing, to over 40 valuations a week overnight. And that launched the business. Just a special offer. That was all it was.
Okay.
And of course, you know, it only took the industry 15 years to catch up with that. But by that time, we had nearly 2,500 properties. But so that was my and of course, at that stage, I decided I wouldn't. I did it back to front, as I very often do. You know, I've learned things the hard way many times. You know, and I decided now now I'm getting back on track. I'm not going to do franchising anymore, and I'm going to make this work myself. And I'm going to build the business up myself, and I will commit to that. And really, that's what I did. But because of my nature, other things have occurred along the way. So we actually have a central London office as well, and we have 3 brands and then 14 offices. But we also, I don't know if you're aware, Stephen, of my interest in Angels Media.
Yes, yeah, I am.
Yeah. So we also have the Valpal network, and we are a lead generation network for the industry. In fact, we generate more valuation appointments for other estate agents than Rightmove does. Not a well-known fact, but we do. And we have something like 4,000 offices in the Valpal network. Yeah. And actually, when I met Nat Daniels, who's the founder of the group that publishes, you know, Lat and Eat and those sorts of things, you know, I told him that the holy grail for estate agency lead generation is to produce valuation leads. And nothing I'd ever done could do it. Nothing. I tried everything. I actually realized that you could offer people holidays in the sun and it wouldn't make any difference. You know, it was prospect do it right, and that was it. And then we were talking, and we came up with this instant valuation. Now, he says it was him, and you know, it probably was. Taller than me. I mean, he's a much taller guy. He's like 6'7", and I'm like 5'4". So I'm going to say it was him that came up with it anyway. But that instant valuation, that instant online valuation, was actually it was the holy grail of. And now what we do is we take those leads and we help people in estate agency again with a nurture journey through something called MovePal, and it's a brilliantly simple thing. It just takes all your leads and it just keeps in touch with them over a period of time, with a journey that's preset. But the brilliant thing about it, the clever thing about it is, so it's keeping in touch with them, but every time they interact with anything you've sent them, it could be a bit of news, it could be, you know, prior local area, it could be anything you want. It could also be an offer. But every time they interact, it will put them in a hot lead box, and you can then phone them literally at that moment, just as they've got, you know, you in their head. And it's for the agents that actually do use that, it's fantastic, because as you know, with the way that things are going and with technology now, estate agents, they used to be like a very shallow pond, but now they're a very deep sea of data and prospects. But the problem that most of them have is that their new prospects are like raindrops falling into the sea, and they merge into that huge mass other leads, and then they become inaccessible. Whereas what this does is it actually does what no human can do, yeah, which is it keeps in touch with thousands of people on a program basis, and it lets you know when the right moment is. So that's what's so good about that. And
brilliant. Can I unpack some of the things you said? Because you said loads in that 10 minutes, which is great. Okay. So what I want to try and do is help the people listening and watching this with some of the lessons that you came up with. So I know you spoke about 1994 and you learned about being resilient.
Yeah.
So, you know, obviously you need to be incredibly resilient as an estate agent, whether you're starting at the beginning, whether you're a business owner. How did you know, what are the lessons you can share about being resilient with people?
With people, I mean, I think it's a lot of it is down to your nature. You know, God gave us, but I actually do believe that selling, being able to sell, is more of a talent, and actually management is more of a learned skill, as it happens. And I was very lucky to learn. I was on a 2-year course in with the Imperial Life of Canada, and it taught me about attracting, recruiting, training, developing, and retaining salespeople, if you like, the right kind of. And one of the lessons I learned very early on was that actually estate agency, particularly home sales, is just as much about the people as it is in the life insurance industry.
Yeah,
it might even be more so. And so, because I had that experience, and also my nature is such that even when, I mean, things were very, very stressful in the mid-90s. I mean, I had 3 kids, young children, and, you know, the financial aspects really, really bite. And so what I guess I was very fortunate, because I was able to wake up one morning and all of that stress just lifted from my shoulders, and I was able to kind of see things much more clearly for what they were, and I'd accepted that if I couldn't do it, that wasn't that was not a shame on me. That all the only shame would be not doing your best. And I suppose once I came to terms with that, once I realised that all I had to do was the best I can and see what happens. Yeah, I just felt, well, that's fine. That weight kind of lifted from my shoulders.
Fantastic. So you've obviously recruited loads of people, going from a single office to going to 14 offices. Again, recruitment's a challenge at the moment. So where would you, if you were looking now to recruit, how would you get the best people? What's the best questions that you find works at an interview? to help you attract those people as well?
Well, okay, so let me unpack that question. So there's a very big difference between recruiting a trainee negotiator that I wouldn't do at this point, and recruiting a key person like a manager or even a top negotiator of some kind. And the first thing you've got to be able to do is you've got to be able to attract them. And because managers and top people they have a track record of success, a lot of the questions, we're all prisoners of our past experience. So a lot of the questions about whether they can do it or can't do it have already been answered, really. And then the question is then, number one, can you attract them? And number two, once you've attracted them, are you able to build a relationship? Because you shouldn't recruit people that you can't get on with, really. Okay, but assuming that you get on with them, then you've got to do you've got a selling job. You've got to have something to sell. And the career presentation, so I would want to align your aims and goals with what we've got to offer. Okay, and so what I'm trying to do, what I've got to be able to show you is that you're going to be better off with me than you would be on, doing something else with somebody else or on your own. And in order to do that, I can only really show an environment and a culture and a management process that will develop you into a more well-rounded, more successful person. Or I can say, yes, we can do that, but we can also offer you a measurable advantage over competitors. So, for example, one of the managers I recruited, and by the way, almost all of my top team, recommendation, referral, personal contact.
Okay.
Yeah. Agencies, I very, very rarely come across, it's normally my own network and the networks of the people that work for me that produce these people, or it's direct contact by me. So I directly contacted someone that looked like a great profile on LinkedIn. Why? He commented on one of my posts. Yeah. So I contacted him and said, do you want to come and work for me? And, might as well get to it, right? And he said, no, I'm with Kirsten. I'm really, really happy. Yeah. And I said, well, I can guarantee if you speak to me, you won't be. And it piqued his interest, and we had a chat. And so what did I tell him? Well, I said to him, the thing about you, and you're a very successful guy. I said, but if you apply what you're doing in my business, you will make more money and we will pay you more money. Why? Well, we've got this thing called the advanced rent option, whereby we can offer our normal quality management plus a guaranteed year's rent upfront, paid in advance, and at no extra cost. And he went, really? So we can pay our landlords a year's rent in advance for the same price as normal management, and it's guaranteed rent, guaranteed full market rent. I went, yeah. Do you think you can sell that? And he went, yes, I think I can. I said, great. I said, so if you come to us, right, we're in a market which is struggling to get instructions, and you apply what you already know to what we're doing, yeah, you'll be more successful. So it's not just about the culture and the management, but I also think it's about giving people a measurable advantage over their competitors. Yeah, that's my job. My job is to help them differentiate themselves. And we do that. The ARO, the advanced rent option, is the biggest way we do that on lettings. And actually, we've got 50 agents we license for that now as well. So we've already got 50. We only launched that network this year. And again, that's through Angels Media. But we also have a buyer pays the fee model on sale. So I originated the buyer pays the fee. I know it got some bad publicity because Cubit and West had to go at it and messed it all up. But the way I've done it, it's been a huge learning curve. But it was endorsed by the ombudsman reluctantly, and he laid out how to do it. And we operate that buyer pays the fee model, and we've turned it into a really sharp, it's a weapon really in the right hands to differentiate ourselves in the home, but also help to really get good prices for our vendors who we still work for.
Yeah.
We kind of turn the gun around a bit more on the buyers. But anyway, that'd be a whole podcast, so we won't go there. I originated that in 2008, so I mean after the last crash. So, and actually the ARO, which has only been going for 4 years and it's only started to launch properly now, really back of something that I came up with again in 2008 called the Primary Tenancy, which I created in order to offer guarantees to landlords. It would be considered rent to rent, except that we are the agent and we are the tenant, and therefore there's still only 3 players, in the transaction. And we can do a lot of things in the back of that. We can do our own guarantees, we could do our own zero deposit options, and protect our tenants more because we are a big landlord, so we're more compliant. And it's really in everybody's interest, and it allows the advanced rent option to take place.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you seem a very creative person. Where do all these ideas come from?
Oh my God. Well, it's funny that, because I never saw myself as particularly creative, although, when I was at school, I could never write an essay. And when I came out into the world, of work, I didn't have any ideas, but I had this faith and belief that eventually they would come, that if you keep thinking, that eventually it would all happen. And strangely, yes, the more experience I've got, it's a bit like connecting up the dots. Yeah. Business is a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. I always remember a big managers meeting I did once, and I said to the managers there that, look, your job is a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. I said, so I've got some jigsaw puzzles here, yeah, and they were all 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds. I said, so who thinks they can do these jigsaw puzzles? Because they all represent an aspect of what you're doing, recruitment, training, development, prospecting, selling, negotiating, and the whole thing. And they went, oh yeah, and it was very funny. I said, great. And there's a box that I put in the middle of the table. And then I got all of these puzzles, right? And I put them all in the box, and I mixed them all up. And I said, and of course I hadn't shown them the pictures of what these puzzles were. So go now see how well you do, yeah, at untangling all these small. So once you've untangled them, it's much easier. But the whole thing about business, and I think I've got it in my chest, but I probably haven't really acted on it as much as I should have done myself, because it's so difficult. The right way to do a job, the right way to do a business, is to go product, process, people, right? But actually, what tends to happen, and I've done it myself, and I still do it sometimes, but I'm trying to get better at it now. And what normally happens is product, people, chaos. If you're trying to scale something, and if you look at why people who are hyper talented can do it themselves, but they can't get other people to do it, it's because they have the energy, but they don't have the methodology. And it's that methodology in management that makes the difference. And you have to be, and if the bigger the business, the more things come up: compliance, technology, how you scale things, how you change standards, how you impose supervision. And I've got to say that since I've been doing this, it has become more accessible because of technology. A lot of the things that we as small businesses and medium-sized businesses can do today, were just not available to small and medium-sized businesses, not so long ago. So it is kind of exciting prospect that if you do have the right ideas and you do put that jigsaw puzzle together, there's actually no limit to what you can do. And I look at businesses like Keller Williams. I don't think they're as old. These businesses have come up and become worldwide forces, yeah? And they've done so by simply making things available. Interestingly enough, I mean, all this work from home, self-employed thing, when I was playing with my franchise, and I didn't want to think about rolling it out quicker, when I actually when I actually cracked the lettings for ourselves with the special offer, I actually did put together a work from home lettings franchise based on a self-employed model. And that was back in 95. Yeah. And then I kind of abandoned it because I'd done that and I'd been there. And I realized I could have carried on with that, but I didn't because it wasn't exciting to me. And it's the same with buy to let. You know, I bought a lot of properties to let initially in the boom myself personally. I put all the money that I had in it. But after a certain number, to me, that was boring after that. I didn't want to do any more. And it's created something at the time, which was Choices Investments. And I took my knowledge of pensions and I applied it to property. And you know, we built it where, you know, we had 750,000 leads. And I really did feel that after the crash that the property investment advisor could take over from the pension advisor. But then it turned into the Wild West. And a lot of other people came into that kind of business. And gradually I realized it wasn't what I thought it was. But at one point, I at board level, I had persuaded the mortgage, what was it now? Oh, Peter Brodnicki's business.
MAB.
Yeah, Mortgage Advice Bureau. I got them almost to the point where they were going to like retrain their advisors as property investment advisors. But lucky for Peter, he didn't do that. He's obviously got a good judgment. So it didn't happen.
Hi, Jim. Thanks very much for joining
close
us.
To being really big in certain times. I mean,
can I just come back to something?
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying, Jim.
So just come back on something. So when you did the special offer and you went from 2 instructions or 4 market appraisals to 40, which was great. How quickly then did you then up your investment in your services from 5% to where is it now? Well, you know, if I was renting a property out for you fully managed, what would you be charging?
No, it was only ever 5%. It was only ever 5% for the first 6 months. It went up to 15 after that. The average fee that we were getting then was probably higher than the average fee we're getting now. There's so many discounts. What we do now to keep our fees up is we offer the advanced rent option, which is a year's rent up front.
Yeah. That
keeps our fees up. But other than that, I mean, we don't charge more for that, but we don't discount it either. Although, in fact, I am going to be discounting it. It's getting so tight to attract business now on lettings. It's not like sales. Lettings fee does impact on people. But what people don't realise is that they are now navigating their way through a minefield, and they don't even know that minefield is there. And you know, half of the 2 million landlords that there are don't use for anything. And I can promise you, they have no idea of the dangers they face and that they are literally risking. I mean, we have got numerous examples of pushing up to 6-figure costs that landlords have faced with no insurance, no guarantees, no protection, unlimited fines, you know, and just a miasma of rules and worries now. And actually, and in fact, for me, the far better sale when you're talking to a landlord now, especially if they're using a cut price agent or they're doing it themselves or they're not using full management, is to focus on the pain points and the risks they're taking, because they aren't aware of them. And once they are aware of them, it's a bit like insurance. Become the helicopter that's hovering above the minefield, ready to winch them out. And once they realize that their income, which is what a lot of these people, the average age of most of the landlords is about 55 to 60, and they're relying on 3 or 4 properties for their pension, their income for life. And if that's under threat to the point, you know, that it could cost them thousands and thousands of pounds, they can't afford that. That's much more risky to them than crashing their car and writing their car off. And they would never dream of driving a car uninsured.
Yeah, 100%. So how are you educating these people about, the advanced rent option? I think Jim's got a question for you there about what's the advanced rent or the 1 year up front.
Okay. So the advanced rent option is our quality full management service plus a guaranteed full market rent paid a year in advance at no extra cost. That's what it is. Okay. It's built on the back of our primary tenancy business model. It could only be done because of that. And it is available for us, but it's also available through licensed agents who pay us a monthly fee, monthly subscription, and we finance the upfront rent for them. So fortunately, we're in that position where we can do that. We are working on, really, I think this has got phenomenal potential. And so in terms of how do I educate people? Well, I've always written a lot of stuff on sales training, and I've written a lot over the years. I was published a novel back in 1997. It was a horror story, but it wasn't about estate agency, surprisingly. And
that would have been a good horror story.
So, but I do know my limitations, and I've tried writing comprehensive manuals before. It's actually quite hard to do that. But I'm really fortunate. I've got a great friend called Monica, who is a Harvard professor, but also a sales manager and a salesperson. And she has helped me create a manual for the for the advanced rent option, which is literally just off the press now. And we're still in the process of, been doing it 4 years, but we're still learning as much as we can about how to scale it. Because if I were to turn on the taps now, for the advanced rent option, we would be overwhelmed. And I know what it's like to be overwhelmed when you remember what I said about product, process, people. Well, if the process can't cope with it, it turns into chaos. And even though we're a decent medium-sized business, we're nowhere big enough yet to cope with that kind of growth if we were to, go big with the ARO. So right now, it's all about learning and about figuring it. Also, there's huge underwriting lessons to be learned, because there's risk involved if you get it really wrong. Although we underwrite the risk, so it's more actually a process thing. It's more about staying in control as you grow, and so that's going on at the moment, and that's going to involve technology as well as so we want a platform for the ARO that simplifies it as much as possible. But we've already worked out that the people element is still vital, because the people we've got now selling it specifically to leads that come in direct, the best people are actually our property managers, who are also good relationship builders, good communicators, but they've got the experience of what can go, because when you're selling something like that, you're selling peace of mind and financial security or financial freedom, but it's the protection that's the more important issue, really, because I'm taking all those problems of which you're probably not aware, and I'm taking them off your shoulders and I'm putting them on mine, and by giving you that money up front, it's proof of the pudding. My money is where my mouth is. So
Jim says he'd be a bit nervous about the advanced rental, as it sounds like you becoming their bank for the year and taking all the risks.
But I don't understand that. That's mystifying to me, because I'm giving them the money. So how are they've got the money? So what can go wrong?
Well, what happens?
We're giving you the money. You've got your money.
Yeah. Okay. So tenant leaves.
Okay.
Tenant doesn't pay the rent.
Okay. Well, that's much more likely. I mean, we always. Okay. So we always do a year's tenancy for an advanced rent option, obviously, and it's not meant to be a magic wand. It's meant to be a realistic service. Yes. So we offer it with or without a guarantee. Yeah. So just like our normal management service, the actual fee that you pay as the landlord is identical to what you would normally pay us for our management service, and our management service can be offered with or without a guarantee. Yeah. So if something goes wrong, in the tenancy, you can either have the guarantee, which means you've paid us a bit more, or you don't have to have the guarantee. It's up to you. So we're not taking your choice away from you. But clearly, if you do have the guarantee and the tenant doesn't pay, then you don't have to worry. And from our point of view, we would much rather you did have that guarantee.
Yeah. Okay. So Jim just asked, final question: are you financing it all then?
So I've been doing business. I've been in business for 32 years, and the money is coming from me right now. And it's no secret, but I've got a limited amount of money I can put behind it. But it is between 5 and 10 million cash that I can put behind it. And I have a very rich friend who is watching how I do. Remember I talked about Simon Greenshields?
Yes.
Hi, Simon. And he's ready to come behind me if I get it to the next level. And then once I've got it to that level, my intention would be to go out having a racing car, that can provably lap the track on at record time, and go to investors and say, all I now need is more fuel, which is more money. And as I said, we've been 4 years far refining this and working out, what the risks are and how to underwrite those risks. And we've now, so when we give you a guarantee, we buy insurance to cover ourselves. So it's not that we're taking risk with that money. The only risk the only risk we would be taking is the same compliance risk that every agent takes if they get things wrong. And the great thing about the way that we operate is we're taking compliance risk away from us because we are the tenant and we are the landlord.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you. Just knowing what you know now, if you were starting again, what advice would you be giving to people just starting out in their estate agency career?
Lots of facetious comments come to mind. So what if I was not if I was starting out again? What would I do differently? But more, what would I advise? Because that's two different questions, isn't it?
What would you do?
I
advise people that are just starting out.
What would I say to most people that were just starting out? Well, what I would probably say to them is that, in order to be successful as an estate agent, you've got to have certain qualities. And if you've got the right qualities and you're persistent about it, it's a fantastic business. When you say they're starting out, I mean, you're talking about junior negotiators, really, aren't you? Someone beginning.
It could be that they just started. They thought they wanted to go into their own business now. I've spoken to a few people.
That's a different person. Well, by the time a person gets to the stage where they think they can open their own business and be successful, I would say that they've had enough time in the business by then to make an assessment of their own about whether they believe they've got what it takes. What I would say is that if you look at the statistics, a lot of estate agents open up and fail a lot. Not every estate agent that opens succeeds. And if you looked at the statistics of the self-employed model, which seems to be the flavor of the month right now, and we hear about some of these self-employed agents who earn, huge amounts. I heard one say that they were making £600,000 a year.
Yep.
And working from home, and you think, well, that's brilliant. But I remember back in the days of life insurance, and there were people in life insurance and pensions back then. I was one of them, who were making that kind of money in real terms back then. But there just wasn't very many of us. and so of averages comes out there, but you've got to think if you're going into that business, go into it with your eyes open, make an assessment of the risks, and just understand that unless you're in the top 20% of starters, you've probably got no chance whatsoever.
Okay, so you
Pareto principle, 80-20 rule.
Yeah, you talk about your great friend Simon from America, who's done incredibly well. What other people have influenced your life, mentor-wise? What would you recommend good books to read that would help people on their journey?
Okay, Okay, well, I think that in terms of the books that I've read and have influenced me, Think and Grow Rich by, now what's his name?
Napoleon.
Oh, you've got me now. Napoleon Hill, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a brilliant book, and it leads back to The Secret, Life's Strangest Secret. We become what we think about the most. How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling by Frank Becker. How to Win Friends and Influence People is a huge Bible of wisdom, really.
Dale Carnegie.
And if you look at and if you look back, if you look at all of the great principles of selling, they came out of the North American model, which actually again was founded in the life insurance business, and some of the greatest salesmen of all time have come from there. And so I think that the principles of selling are a bit like the wheel. You discover and invent them. And actually, one of the interesting things that we said earlier is that selling is a talent in the main, yeah. But then you could also say chess is a talent. And so I developed this nice little trite phrase, which is that people who need training can't be trained, and people who can be trained don't need training, yeah. But there's a catch, and the catch is that you have to know the rules. And the best example I can give you is this: if I were to get 900 chess sets, yeah, I gave 300 people those chess sets, but didn't give them the rules, yeah, and I gave 300 people those chess sets, and I did give them the rules, and then I coached 300 people, yeah, for the next, I don't know, 6 months, and then I had a competition. Well, what would happen is that the people, even if Magnus Carlsen had been in the group without the rules, whatever they had come up with would not be chess, okay? And the people who were given the rules, but when they're given no coaching, if their champion played my champion, there's no guarantee as to who would win. Huh? But what I can tell you is that in my group of 300, there would be 60 or 70 good players, yeah? But in the group that didn't get coaching, there'd be about, I don't know, 15. So the difference that you can make when you train people and you coach them, and you have to have the raw material to start with, and then from there you can do great things. And it's like anything else, any race that you enter, if it's competitive, the difference between winning and losing is never that great.
100%. Could be a millisecond. Okay, but it makes a big difference between gold and silver. Simon, thank you for being a fantastic guest. Thank you for your time. I know you have got a lovely trip planned next week, so thoroughly enjoy it. Congratulations on
thank you.
Your 2 additional grandchildren as well, so enjoy those as well. And I'm really grateful.
Brilliant.
If people want to get hold of you, Simon, how would they do that, please?
Well, my email is on my website at choices.co.uk, so they can contact me that way, or you can look me up on LinkedIn. I'm completely available, to anyone who wants to contact me. I do try to reply to any requests within reason for advice. I'm not a paid consultant, and I've never offered that kind of service. But if anyone ever wanted my opinion or help with something, I would always advise them. I've got to tell you though, there's always a risk that if you do contact me and you're in the industry and you're any good, I might try to recruit you. So there's always that problem.
Brilliant. Look, thank you so much for your time.
Okay.
Jim, thanks for watching from Spain. Appreciate it. Thank you, David, for watching as well. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Really grateful. Please review it, like it, share it. Incredibly grateful. Simon, have a wonderful afternoon, and thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. I appreciate the opportunity. Great. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Bye.